Credit scores don't make sense. I mean, they make about as much sense as pushing harder on a remote when the batteries are dead, even though sometimes I swear that kind of works. But anyways, the whole credit system is just filled with these weird quirks and intricacies that don't make total sense. However, the good news is you can use those quirks to your advantage if you know what to look for. The classic knowledge is power. So let's dive into the details on how this affects you. Yes, you and your credit, and how you can work the system in a legal way, in a free way, whatever. We'll get into the details. The first issue with the credit system is it's not a measure of wealth. It's a measure of your ability to pay debt based on how well you've paid other debt. I mean, you could be a multimillionaire with no debt, no mortgage, and have a bad credit score. How does that make sense? I don't know, but they're just using the data that they have. And if you have no debt, you have no data, unfortunately. So credit scores are broken down from largely a few factors. 10% of your score is based on new credit. 10% is based on the types of credit you use. 15% is based on the length of your credit history. How long have you been using credit? 30% is the amount you owe, meaning the total amount that you owe and how much of your credit you use. This is known as the utilization, and this one actually makes a huge difference. We're going to talk about this a little bit later. And then 35% is your payment history. Do you pay your credit on time? And there's a really interesting piece of info for this that I'm going to discuss in a minute. Now, just knowing those factors as to how this is calculated can help you build your credit. The fastest ways to build your credit quickly is number one, become an authorized user on the credit account of someone who already has a high credit score. This can boost you up really fast. However, this isn't feasible to most people because most people don't want someone signed onto their credit. But if you have a spouse or a parent or something like that with good credit and you become an authorized user, your credit score will bump up fast just by association. The credit company is like, hey, you know that guy with an 800 credit score? Let's give you a 700 credit score. But another way that anyone can boost their credit quickly is focusing on utilization. And there's kind of a hack here. If you have a credit card and you pay off all of your credit card down to $1 before your statement date, this actually kind of tricks the credit system and shows that you're using less of your available credit. So how the utilization works, let's say you have a $1,000 credit limit and you typically spend $500 a month. So you're using 50% of your credit, 50% credit utilization. You want that to be less than 10%. So you can trick this system by paying it down to $1 before the statement date, and then after the statement, just paying off that $1. And the credit bureaus are like, oh, this person is barely using their credit. Let's bump up their score. It actually works. Do that for a few months. Your score will shoot up. I have an entire video breaking that down if you're interested. I'll pin that above. Another reason why credit scores make absolutely no sense is they just haven't kept up with the times. The FICO score was invented in 1956, and not a whole lot has changed since then. I mean, credit scores don't traditionally count more modern things like a cell phone bill, rent, your Netflix subscription, anything like that isn't counted on your credit, but those are bills. But this is because very few providers will report these to credit bureaus unless there's an issue on your account. I mean, they're kind of like, what's my advantage to reporting this unless there's an issue? This, of course, makes no sense because you're paying those debts and you should be rewarded for this. I mean, this is your credit worthiness. You're paying these debts every single month. You're paying that Netflix subscription every month. Luckily, though, there's kind of a solution here. This is Experian Boost. This is a brand new program that I just learned of. It's totally free. This is not a sponsor of mine. I just think it's really interesting and useful what they're doing. With this, you make an account, then you can add your utility bills, your cable bill, your phone bill, your Netflix subscription, and a ton of other bills, and actually get credit on your credit for them. I'm not sure if you can report your OnlyFans subscriptions, though. You might have to do a little bit more digging on that one. But even better, with this Boost program, late payments, which typically can drop your credit score fast, won't be included in your Boost account as long as you don't get sent to collections. So you can be a little bit late and this won't affect your Boost account at all. It just will positively benefit your credit. So you should definitely check that out. It's a free service, Experian Boost. So boom, there you go. You can keep on paying your regular bills and help your credit. You know what? If you've already learned something new on this video, I think this might merit a like and subscribe. Also, make sure you check out the link in the description for Webull, where you can grab 2 completely free stocks with a $100 deposit. And you will also be helping out this channel because they're going to send me a free stock. So check that out if you're interested in the stock market or getting free money or anything like that. The next reason why the credit system doesn't make total sense is late payments don't hurt your credit score until they are 30 days or more past due. This is because there's kind of a built-in grace period, which is nice, but most people don't know about this. How this works is there's an account status code that calculates your credit score, and these codes have tiers. So it's not like a sliding scale necessarily, it's like a tier. You hit the next tier, it hurts your credit more. So the first tier is 0 to 29 days past due. If you're within that tier, it doesn't affect your credit at all. So you can use that to your advantage. The second tier is 30 to 59 days past due, and really anything under 60 days doesn't hurt your credit that much. And you always can also appeal to whoever you owe debts to if there's some reason that came up and you're like, hey, this happened, that's why I wasn't able to pay my bill. A lot of times they won't report it, and you can kind of work with them before they even report it. The next tier is 60 to 89 days past due. This is when it can really start hurting your credit. And then the final tier is 90 days plus late. And this can actually damage your credit for up to 7 years and can drop your credit score by more than 180 points just from one instance. It's pretty crazy. So how can you use that knowledge to your advantage? Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't pay your bills. You should pay your bills. But let's say you run a little bit behind. You can sleep easy knowing that you have that 29-day buffer window after your payment was due, that it's not going to hurt your credit. You know, let's say something comes up, you know, you have a little bit of buffer. You can use that to your advantage and not just have one fewer stressor on your plate during a stressful time. The next reason why credit scores don't make sense. Paying off a loan can actually lower your credit score. It's completely counterintuitive, but it's based on how the whole system is set up. This is because the age of your credit accounts affects your score, and your credit mix can have an effect on your score. So this factor, unfortunately, doesn't have much of a hack to take advantage of, but I thought it was worth knowing that if you pay off your car loan or your mortgage, you might see that credit score temporarily dip. But it's like, okay, what's my alternative? Just leave debt on there and not pay? No, you want to pay off your debt. I mean, the credit score only means so much. You know, if you're over 700, it doesn't really make much of a difference. You know, if you're 700, 750, 780, 810, whatever, it doesn't make much of a difference. So let's finish off strong though with one more piece of knowledge that you can act on. The last reason we're going to cover why credit scores don't make sense is that opening more credit cards can actually help your credit in the long run, at least. So hey, this is how it works. It's based on that utilization thing that we talked about earlier. But if you open more credit accounts, in the short run, it's going to lower your credit temporarily because the time that you've had these accounts open, your average account age is going to drop it. And because you're getting credit pulls, that's going to slightly drop your score. It's not going to drop it a whole lot, but temporarily it'll go down. But in the long run, this will go up, both because the age of your credit accounts will go up, but also because of that utilization trick. So remember we talked about the utilization where you can pay down your statement to $1, let it go through, and then just pay off that $1. Well, another way that you can help your utilization is by simply opening more credit. It seems kind of crazy that they're like advocating to just open more credit cards. Now, this doesn't mean to use them, but let's say you have one credit card and it has that $1,000 limit. Well, if you open 5, then you have a $5,000 limit and you can keep spending that $500 that you've been spending, but then your utilization is much better. The ratio of how much you spend versus what your total credit is much better. And in the long run, you'll have a better score because of it. So taking all these factors together, you should be able to significantly bump up your credit score without really doing much. And you shouldn't have to pay money ever to increase your credit score. That's ridiculous. Also, watch out for scammers in the comments because every time I do a video on credit, there are scammers down below. Just report them or ignore them. So I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.